The holidays are over, and so is the iPhone 5 30-day challenge. How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron Baker from Phone Dog, and let's take a look and see if I'm going to keep it. So the 30-day challenge is over, and you know what? With the iPhone 5, it's a hard one because there's some great Android phones out there. And you know what? I tend to speak, or at least I try to speak in these videos, not just to tech nerds, but to the mainstream consumer as well. And prior to, let's say a year ago, I think Android had some catching up to do in the fluidity department and the design department to an extent. The iPhone 5, one thing that it does incredibly well, and iPhones historically have done well with this, it's fluidity. It does a great job in keeping fluid, consistent performance, and yeah, you're going to counter that with, it's just a grid of icons, blah, 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 all of that stuff. And that's very true. That's what it is. But you know what? It's always been like that. And for the people that like iOS, people that like consistency and fluidity, they'll go one way. For the people that want to hack and tweak and mod and tinker with their device, they'll go another way. And what I like about Android now is it's finally caught up in the fluidity department thanks to things like Project Butter and Android 4.1. and more. So the 30-day challenge with iOS and with the iPhone 5 is over, and I'm going to be straight honest with you, I'm going back to Android. iOS is finally at the point now where, it's fluid, but Android competes with it, and Android takes it toe-to-toe, and then the discussion is no longer about, hey, before, to give you an example, before iOS was here, Android was kind of here, or at least maybe a little bit lower, somewhere around here on the scale, if you will. And Android was a little bit lower, so you know what? The iOS fluidity was so great that it almost just countered anything that Android had to offer. So for me at least, sure, it had great Gmail integration. Sure, it had, fantastic support. It had great camera options. It had great, fill in the blank with whatever you liked, but at the end of the day, it wasn't as fluid as iOS. And for somebody like me that relies on fluidity in everyday performance and in everyday life with my phone, it could never compete up until now. Now it's fluid, so the discussion becomes less of this being a fluid device and more of, okay, they're both fluid now. What do they have to offer? Fluidity, pretty much on par. Now, the Google services look so much better on Android than they do on iOS. Perhaps the mail options look better, the camera options look better, battery life, 4G LTE. Granted, both of these have 4G LTE, but the iPhone 5 just got 4G LTE. And so the options are great out there. I still think the iPhone 5 is great for a lot of people. For those people that want consistency, fluidity, perhaps first-time smartphone buyers, somebody that wants, and this is something Android has yet to match on the iPhone 5, somebody that wants a device with an incredible design. I mean, you have to admit this thing is incredible, and say what you will about 4-inch displays. Some people don't care for a display this small, but you know what? It's a fantastic looking, well-built device all around. I'm going to wipe it on my sweater so we get rid of some of those fingerprints. Well-built all around, very impressive build quality and design, and I'd love to see an Android device look half as nice as this, at least in terms of metal and in terms of glass. It may be breakable, but you know what? Throw it in a case, and you got a beautiful device here that a lot of people like. So there's a lot of choice here, or there's a lot of choice on the market, and some people are going to like this, and some people are going to like Android. That said, I'm going back to Android, and actually, what I'm going back to, and this is going to surprise you given the fact that I've had this in challenges in the past, I'm going to the Galaxy Note 2. I've been using this device for a couple days with my iPhone 5, and I've been really impressed. You know that I've carried the Samsung Galaxy S3 for almost 6 months back and forth between the 30-day challenges. The Galaxy S3 has been my daily driver, but I am going to the Note 2 this time around. The reasons why: I send and receive so many emails that it's great to have a huge display. And this thing is a huge device. It doesn't fit as well in the pocket by any means as something like this or a Galaxy S3, and this is actually the right one that I was using prior to the iPhone 30-day challenge. This is definitely more pocketable, but I like the Note 2 a lot, and I love TouchWiz. I think it's finally up to par because it brings some of the fluidity aspects and some of the ease of use that we've come to know and love on the iPhone. It brings it over to Android. It gives it a feel that I think is great for beginning consumers that are just getting into smartphones, all the way up to people that like to techies rather, that like to root and mod their device. It's got a lot to like. And of course you have the S Pen here, which I conveniently lost on a flight over Christmas. It fell off in the airplane, did not notice it until I got off the plane. Oh well, it is what it is. But I'm really impressed with the overall build quality, the overall look and feel. Android 4.1 on this device, the big display. It's just got a powerful combination of features, and what I like about this phone is it's available on all carriers. So right now, if you're on T-Mobile, you can't get the iPhone 5 without purchasing an unlocked device and dealing with all that garbage. With this, you can go to the carrier and buy it subsidized at Sprint, T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, and US Cellular, and I'm sure it'll come to other smaller carriers in the future, much like the Galaxy S3 has, all across the board. So there's a lot to like here. Of course, the Galaxy S3, and I have a feeling I'll switch back and forth between these. That said, the Note 2 is going to be my driver for the foreseeable future. iPhone 5, great for a lot of people, but now the discussion is less about fluidity and more about what can my device do now that Android is up to par in the fluidity department. As we've covered in the 30 days, there's a lot to like about iPhone 5 with fluidity, with music options, with the iOS ecosystem, but that said, for somebody like me that uses Gmail, Google Docs, Google Voice, Google Drive on a regular basis, this is a fantastic choice. And now that we're seeing this across multiple carriers, companies like Samsung and to a lesser extent HTC and LG are finally starting to do what Apple's done for years, kind of get the same device on multiple carriers. I can walk into 5 carriers and buy this exact same device, save for a few software differences. I can walk in with the Galaxy S3 and do the same thing on 5 different carriers. So those distribution agreements are going to be key. It's not always about the hardware. A lot of times it's about the distribution agreement. What I like about this phone is they made a great device. They put it on a bunch of carriers in the US. They made it pretty much the same across the board. So whether you're on T-Mobile or Sprint or Verizon or AT&T, you can get the same device and talk to your friends about it. Plus fantastic features on TouchWiz that are built atop Android, make Android even better. And they're features that I hope to see stock Android implement in the coming days with future versions of Android. Perhaps in Keyline Pi, who knows. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com for continuing coverage. The iPhone 5 challenge is over. Let me know what you'd like to see. Actually, let Taylor know what you'd like to see for the next 30-day challenge. This is my last month at PhoneDog. I'm leaving on the 31st, but let Taylor know at PhoneDog_Taylor what 30-day challenge you'd like to see next. I'm sure he'd be more than open to carrying a device for 30 days, trying it out and letting you know what he likes and what he doesn't like about it. Follow me on Twitter if you'd like. I'm Aaron C. Baker on Twitter, and he's PhoneDog_Taylor. And hit us up on Facebook as well, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Thanks for watching. Keep it locked on the site for more 30-day challenges on PhoneDog.com. And as always, we'll see you next time.